Hello, welcome to my workshop. My name's Steve and I'm undertaking a project as part of a supervision program that I'm involved in. And the project is concerned with the subject of presence. And as one part of that project, I plan to make a sculpture. And so this is the first of a number of videos that I plan to do to try to illustrate that process as I go through it, which I haven't tried before, so the technology is all a little new to me and I'm not quite sure how it works. But anyway, we'll see how it goes. So what I've done for today, for this first video, is I've pulled together sculpture pieces that I currently have, that I've made around the house. There are a few others that are elsewhere, but these are the ones that I've got, so I've got easy access to them. And I want to just talk you through them briefly because I think it helps to contextualise anyone doing any piece of artwork to understand a little bit, or to have some idea of what they've done previously. So where what they're doing now fits into a kind of progression. And that's again what I hope this will help you to get. So I'll start over here with the piece that I did first. I think I probably did this 24 years ago, something like that. It actually took me about 2 or 3 years, so it's somewhere around there. It's a piece of ebony, and my son always tells me it looks like a knight out of a chessboard. This is the second piece it's some kind of pine, and it was originally one piece of wood, and it continued up. I've actually separated the base and the top section that I've sculpted, simply because I was starting to get a few little cracks in the sculpture because as the wood was contracting, as the base was contracting, and that seems to have done the job. And what I was trying to achieve with this piece in particular was to encourage the viewer to want to see what else is happening somewhere else around it. It's very much a kind of, can I entice you to want to be curious about what's around the bend, around the corner, in the part that you can't see. Okay, so third, I think I need to lift this up for you to have any chance of seeing it. So it's a piece of chestnut. I turned it on my lathe, which is just out over there, but you can't quite see it. And then I stained it using different stains and following the grain of the wood in doing that. I was quite pleased with that. It was a lengthy process, but I enjoyed doing it. This is made out of lead, and this was very much an experiment for me in how do I cast in lead. So I made a wax model. I really wasn't terribly focused on what the model was. I just wanted to make something that I could then cast. And I made a plaster cast of it and removed the wax and then cast the lead in it, and that was the outcome. And I enjoyed the process, and I think we'd have to say it hasn't got much presence really at all, but never mind. This piece I'm very fond of for a very particular reason. So I started making the base of this when my father died, and I was making it in order that we could use it to put his ashes in before we buried them. But as I worked on this section, the red, what you can see as red now, I became unconvinced that it was actually going to be stable enough that the wood itself might crack, and we could have an accident. I didn't want that to happen, so I put it to one side and made something else out of a much more solid bunch of pieces of maple. And then I came back to this, and I worked on the whole piece. I suppose with an idea of incarnation and disincarnation in my head, but as very much part of my grieving process around my father. So that has important memories for me. This piece is a piece of sculpture that nature produced. So it's a piece of bog oak that I picked up on the moors up in the far north of Scotland, and I simply put it on a piece of oak as a base. So that just to demonstrate that nature can produce some lovely things too. I always think it looks a little bit like a Jedi with their lightsaber out. But anyway, so that's what that is. This one is one that I really love because it's made from alabaster, which is a very, very lovely stone to work. It's very soft, and you could use a cheese grater on it. And effectively, you do really. I was quite cautious when I was making it because you can't see it very well, but there's actually a crack right through it that has some kind of mould or something in it that would have been in the original stone, and I was concerned that the whole thing was going to fly apart on me, really. So that made me cautious. But I was pleased with it. I was pleased with the result. Now, pleased particularly, I'm not going to pick it up because it's really heavy. I was pleased that I was able to include some of the original shape of the stone in the final piece. So that's quite pleasing for me. So these three, the final ones, are all made of limestone, Ancaster limestone, and they are made, all of them, on 5-day stone carving residentials at the Yorkshire Sculpture Park. So this one I made in 2014. It's a shell, as you can see. It's all one piece, and you can see some of the lines of running through it of the sedimentary nature of the rock. So it would have been 90 degrees from that as it was produced as rock in the base of the river, or what had been a river. So that's it's just been treated finally finished it. I got stuck on the back here for ages and I couldn't sort it out, but I have now. And I've just treated it, so in the next few days that can go outside somewhere. This was 2015. This was the one of the three that I actually managed to finish in the 5 days. And I think probably of all the pieces of sculpture I've got at the moment, it's the one I'm most enjoy, because going back to what I was saying over there, I think for me anyway, it certainly has that quality of making me want to see what's around the corner, as it were, what's happening just around here, and as I move it around, and I feel very satisfied with it. I feel like I really achieved what I was trying to achieve in doing that, which is why it gets pride of place on the revolving turntable for the moment. But yeah, so I really like that one. And then finally this one, which I have to pick up, I think, and bring around for you to be able to see it, and I suspect I disappear in the process. So this obviously is a head, and I did it somewhat reluctantly, really, because I woke up on the morning of going to the workshop planning to do another abstract, and I just thought, no, I really need to do a head because I'll learn a lot from the tutor, Marcia, who's a really great teacher, and I did. I learnt masses from her in how to resolve all those tricky issues about noses and nostrils and mouths and lips and eyes and eyeballs, because you can't carve in stone exactly what is there in flesh and bone, and yeah, I'm pretty pleased with it. It needs a little bit of finishing off, as you can tell, and it hasn't had any kind of finish on it as yet, but yeah, it was a good piece to do, and quite different in many ways to everything else that I've done. So that's a little bit about my previous sculpting, my sculpting story so far. For this project, let me just explain that I'm not going to try and produce something and say that represents presence. That's not the purpose. For me, the purpose is to produce a piece of sculpture which has presence. So it engages you as the person looking at it. It makes you want to give it some attention. spend a little bit of time with it, and it has some impact on you. You might experience that intellectually, emotionally, spiritually, in some other way, energetically, but it has some kind of impact on you, such that you feel a presence from the piece, as you might from any of these, or you might not. I think we'd all probably agree that one doesn't really have a huge amount of presence. But there may be someone watching this who thinks, absolutely it does for me, and I can't see what the fuss is about these. That's the nature of it. It's a very subjective process. Okay, so in the next video I will have removed all these, and I will have out on my workbench some pieces of material that I'm considering as using for the project. Okay, thanks.